like the Bain brothers, Clarence Bain and Edgar Bain, who operated nightclubs like the Silver Slipper and other facilities like that. These were there were people like Father Allen, who operated restaurants, and people like Dan Knowles and others who supported the taxi cab drivers, the straw vendors. These were the people who caused the PLP to finally become the majority rule. As for the church, leaders like H.W. Brown and powerful orators like that, and others who would congregate around the church. Some of the names escape me now, but H.W. Brown certainly was one of them. Obi's Church, Zion Baptist Church. H.W. Brown was, I think, the pastor of Bethel Baptist on Meeting Street at the time. There was the Church of God of Prophecy. Men like Reverend Bishop William Thompson, Reverend Dr. C.B. Moss, Carlton Francis, and many, many others who led the charge to free our people. But what is really disappointing for me and others today, Brother Ferguson, is the fact that despite all of this effort by our forefathers, we find that there are some who have accelerated and elevated to the level of authority in our country today, who have forgotten from whence they have come. Despite the noise in the market, they have abandoned our people. They have abandoned Baintown. They have abandoned Angleton. They have abandoned Gambia. They have abandoned Fox Hill. Because if you look at these areas, they're even more depressed now than they were back in the 50s under the leadership of the oligarch. And so there's much work for us to do. And I believe it's simply because they are suffering the post-traumatic syndrome of the slave mentality, when one who was once a slave becomes the master and he forgets from whence he has come. We must remind them as forcefully as we can that we will not allow them to erase the history and the truth of the Bahamas and its evolution to the level of accomplishments. Then we claim to have 12 million visitors to our country, but none of that prosperity is trickling down to Baintown or Grantstown or Gambia or Fox Hill. All we can be are servants, and they will sell our land to the masters who oppressed us. They will give our tourist destination to the cruise ships, as opposed to causing people who look like you and me to have ownership in our land. A fair contradiction under the UBP in some areas. You know why? Because we did not go into their places to spend our money. We were forced to spend the money with the black merchants over the hill. We have given up the ownership, the Bahamianization policy of ownership to the foreigner by those who we put in authority to protect us. It is bad, it's shameful, and we must make a difference. We must cause that to be reversed.
Pleasant good evening to everyone. Can you all hear me well? Good evening. It's not necessarily a question. It's not necessary. It's not necessarily a question. It's more of a comment. I am enlightened. I am amazed at the history of our country and how rich the history is in our country. Mr. Mannings, I believe you did an exceptional job. It actually gave me a sense of pride. It gave me a sense of understanding as to the sacrifices that were made for our country and the people that made that sacrifice. I remember being in nursing school, and when we walked in our student uniforms, we had to do a on the ward, and we had to pick patients to write on. And we went on a particular ward, and when we walked on the ward, there was a lady in the back, and she sat up in the bed and she started crying. And I went to her bed. I said, "Are you okay?" Or I thought she was whatever. And she started to tell me the story of how they fought for the right for us to wear that nursing uniform and how her husband died. I guess in some riots or whatever that took place, and she lost her husband during that time. And she sat on that bed, and I took her as my patient, and I wanted to really get some history from her. And what she shared was powerful, and it stuck with me that we weren't even allowed to hold certain jobs. We weren't even allowed to be the face in a bank, like how you have the tellers today. Nursing, definitely not. Certain professions were not offered to Black people. And so to see patriotic people that way that really stood, it gave me a sense of pride that when I wear the uniform, I wear it now with an understanding, and even now, more the so with this information tonight, I wear it now with a sense of pride to know that, what someone fought for me to be able to wear that uniform. So it gave me a sense of pride, it gave me a sense of understanding for our country and respect. Because I think you mentioned it earlier, and I may not say it right, but if you don't know where you come from, you're like a tree or something to that effect, whatever the analogy was. But if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you would end up or where you're going, basically. And so having that history, it gives you that root and that grounding that, you know what, yeah, I want to stand and fight for my country. So I thank you so much for this tonight. I pray that it will be sent out so that I can send it out to everybody. Because a lot of times, even with nurses being a shop steward in the nurses union, and you ask them if they come out to the Labor Day march, they would ask you for what, what. And I'm like, what do you mean for what? Do you even know why you're fighting? Do you know why you're marching? And they would say no. So having this information, it gives me more information, more ammunition to go out and encourage them to say, hey, this is what the Labor Day March means. This is why you have to come and support. This is why you have to fight. So I thank you so much for this segment tonight, because it really gave me a sense of respect, even more, and understanding for my country. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much once again, Brother Thomas. And the quote, Miss Moxie, is from Marcus Garvey, and it says, "A people without a history is like a tree without a root." In other words, if you don't know your history, you're not grounded. And it's from the root that the tree gains its nutrients to flourish and bear fruit. So that is the metaphor. Thank you very much once again for the opportunity to share, for the opportunity to be a part of this historic movement. I think these podcasts It's going to go a very long way to helping our people to understand, because if you don't understand why you are fighting, you're not inclined to really fight. If you understand and appreciate, just like you said, the lady shared with you, Miss Moxie, that she probably in her youth could not even dream to be a nurse. But now our young people could take that for granted. As a matter of fact, we are offering free education at the highest tertiary level in this country. Yes, there was a time when black people could not work in no bank. All you could do was sweep the floor. You couldn't work in no hotel. You couldn't, musicians couldn't perform in no hotels, not no white hotels. That's why my father and others had to build their own nightclubs over the hill. And you know what? The visitors used to flock to their clubs over the hill because they wanted the Bahamian experience. But what do we do today? We at Bahamas feature all the foreign artists. We even, our government support them in millions and millions of dollars to bring a nightclub called John Baptiste, when that nightclub could have been named the Captain Phil or the Zanzibar. But no, our leaders allow them to abuse us. And as a part of the MOU which we signed in August 25th, 2021, we were promised that we will be around the table when they negotiate these heads of agreement, so that we can inform our leaders who sell us out to these foreign direct investors that you cannot allow them to do certain things. Certain aspects of the tourism product should be reserved exclusively for Bahamians. For example, entertainment. People should come here for a cultural experience. You just came back from South Africa. Did you hear any Bahamian music in South Africa? Did you eat any Bahamian food in South Africa?
Not at all.
All
Not
you
even the food.
heard, you okay. So what I'm saying is, you come to the Bahamas, and what do they give you? They have about 40 restaurants, I think, in Bahamas, and not one of them is a Bahamian restaurant. Not one. This is what we allow our representatives to do to us. We have to stop it. So thank you so much. I hope that we could preserve these snippets, edit them down into the salient points, and make them available, particularly in our schools, so that our children could understand. You know why we're in the position we're in today? Because we have not done a good job, Mr. Ferguson Sr., in passing on our history to our children. You said earlier today in another meeting that you asked someone, who is Sir Randall Fox? The child couldn't tell you. Who is Cecil Wallace Whitfield? The child couldn't tell you. Who is Dr. C.R. Walker? Who is Sir Randall Fox? Couldn't tell you. We hadn't done a good job. And so it is our charge to ensure that it is your legacy and our legacy to leave behind the history, the true history, so that for generations to come, 70 years from now, our great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren will be able to pull up these tapes and hear you, and hear Brother Ferguson, and hear Miss Moxie, and hear Brother Woods and others articulate the importance of preserving our true selves. Thank you very much. Happy Labor Day. God willing, we'll see you in the morning at 8 o'clock at the House of Labor.